Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of my Bleed build guide. Now what we're gonna have a look at today is some gameplay in T100 dungeons. The reason why T100 dungeon over Vault is simple because there's also a boss fight, right? And people would like to see the boss fight because I see a lot of information flying around that Rend is trash and cannot kill bosses. So we're gonna have a look at that. Then we're gonna do a 4-man Duriel, obviously, no one else attacking. We're gonna solo it, and then we will jump onto the build planner to show you my full charge variation of the build, which is the build that is called recommended actually in my drop down menu of the builds. Okay, so I finally managed to find a T100 dungeon that has a boss at the end, because a lot of people wanted to see how the boss fight looks, because according to many, Rend is weak against bosses, but I'm gonna prove otherwise. Now also there are no positive affixes going for me in this dungeon. Extra frost damage, we don't do that. Death balls, that's disgusting. Damage over time to us. Monsters have 30% extra life, so that's also like negative for us because we won't be able to one-shot as well, especially with a build that's kind of like pushing charge damage, like down a little bit and focusing more on the damage over time. So this is also great to showcase the build. Unlike getting some super good affixes and artificially making the build look better, and then monsters can slow us. So yeah, it could also make us go slower. Like, yeah, nothing good happening for us in this dungeon. It would be really nice if we also managed to find, like a butcher or son of Malphas or anything. Now one fun thing, okay? A guy, like season 2, I think it was season 2, messaged me and he was like, "Bro, Stop making gameplays because you make great builds, but you are such a bad player, you make them look bad." So keep that in mind, that it might actually be the case. Who knows? Maybe I really am that bad. I'm also playing on a controller, which obviously makes me not makes me, but makes the build a little bit worse, because we cannot aim our charge, okay? Unlike as you can see, we're still like instant killing everything even with extra life, but unlike mouse and keyboard players who can actually aim their charge and then do damage even to not moving targets, we cannot do that, okay? We just cannot. As you could have seen there, I just hit the elite. It died to the charge Rend from Ring of the Ravenous. So like, yeah, we just pretty much charge and let the Ring of the Ravenous do the rest with the Rend it applies. Now this is also very squishy build. The reason is that it is heavily optimized for Gauntlet, which is sad to be easier actually than even T100s. There's so much happening, I don't even know where I'm going. And we missed charge. Great. Wait, what? Infested villager. There's one more somewhere. So yeah, the gauntlet is said to be even easier than T100 dungeons. What? Where did I miss him? Where is he? What? Oh my god, all the way there. So yeah, Gauntlet is said to be even easier. Like the official statement from Blizzard is that the monsters start there at level 100. So and in the footage they showed that the monsters were level 124. So that's like equivalent to T70, right? And it would make sense because they said that it's aimed to be for everyone. Even for casuals, so that they can compete with their friends and family, so yeah, it does make sense for them to do it that way. And if that really is the case, then we don't need as much armor. But right now I'm 6,500 armor, okay, in T100, where the armor cap is 13,300. Now still, like, most of the damage in the game ain't physical. It's usually elemental, but still, there is a physical damage in the game. So once we actually get into the gauntlet, where it's not as important, like it will look even better, right? Because there won't be anything. There won't be anything even close to killing us. Where's the guy boosting defenses? There's so much shit going on, I don't even see him. I'm not using shrines, I never do. And I don't have an elixir, so that will be less damage than what I'm supposed to be doing, but like Rend, you know, Rupture by. It's like 3 Rends, and the boss dies. Actually, if you played on mouse and keyboard, like when going into the boss room, you could actually, I mean, you can do that on a controller as well, if you aim it well and if the boss is stationary, right? But what we would do is a charge at the boss. You know, the charge already crits for like 10 million, which is like half of the damage, applies the half of the HP of the boss, applies to Rends, and then you just insta-rupture, okay? So just charge rupture, and the boss dies, okay? Which, yeah, I didn't manage to do, but that's how you could do it. And yeah, as you could have seen, no positive affixes. Monsters even had 30% extra life, and still, unless I missed the charge or there was the defense booster, we were instant killing the elites. If we didn't instant kill them, they were left with like 5% HP and died to the Ravenous damage over time effect. So yeah, T100, pretty damn easy. Pretty damn easy. Okay. Okay, let's see how this goes. Uber Duriel versus Rend. Let's smack this damn worm. Let's smack this damn worm. And help some people in the process, right? Just free Duriels. Why not? That's how we do it. This is how we do it. Bam, 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 bye. Easy. Easy. And they say Rend is bad against single target. Like, what? When? Where? How? Okay, so now that we are done with the gameplays from the pure damage over time, you know, build, focusing more on the Rend damage instead of on the charge damage. And as you could have seen, like, we destroy everything, you know, T100 dungeons, Duriel, etc. Let's have a look at its big bro, which I actually call recommended in my drop down menu. Here you can see pretty much all the builds I ever made, always, like I always have like one link throughout the whole season, and there I, you know, like update my builds or even add builds. Like now I added also like no Ubers versions, etc., because people ask for it. So you can always use the drop down, and you know, or even if you like want to see a different play style, you know, you can look it up here. Like that's what I do every season. So don't forget to use the drop down menu. And I actually have drop down menus for Paragon boards as well, and that's for the leveling ones. Here you can see level boards. Okay, so then like I'll quickly show you if you're leveling up Paragon, and here you can see the levels. Okay, you know, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, you know. So don't forget to check the drop down menus in my builds. Now, back to the recommended build. It's pretty much the same, you know, same gear, same affixes on all of the items, just some aspects are different. The reason is that this build, you can already see because I click on the Paragon board and there is Brawl even, you know, is focusing on instant killing everything with charge. It's focusing on ignoring all of the other damage abilities that we have, unless the charge like misses, you know, or something, or unless we meet a butcher, okay? But like, it's recommended because the best end game that we have right now for farming gear and well farming anything is T100 volts. T100 volts are pure AoE. So this build is focusing on instant killing everything with charge, okay? Like absolutely everything. You do like 10 million and higher based on what buffs you have. If you're like fully buffed, fully stacked the Wrath of the Berserker, you know, you're hitting like 25-30 million charges, even though this is a bleed build. Okay, so the bleed here is more like if you miss the charge, or if you meet one of the bosses, you know, as I said, Son of Malphas or the Butcher. So Equipment is the same, so let's just have a look at the items that are different compared to my, more Rend focus build. Here, we are using crit strike chance instead of all stats because, yeah, we want to crit as much as possible with the charge so that we do instant kill everything. We are using berserk ripping aspect here. Again, just in case something survives, we want it to die to just, the damage over time that was applied through our Ring of the Ravenous, plus now berserk ripping. We don't want to stop and actually hit it with Rend or something. Gauntlet ain't about looting, or like shouldn't be. So if you see the dark health bar on the enemy, you just leave it. You just leave it to die. You don't have to fight it, okay? So that's kind of like this focus. Then everything else is the same. What's changed as well is the aspect on our two-hander. It's no longer accelerating. Once again, we are not actually standing and popping our Rend. Accelerating is for the highest possible damage over time effect. Okay, but this build focuses on charge, and just in case something survives, we miss the charge, we always have the 60% limitless ready to use, okay? Because we are always overcapping on Fury, so we have this ready at pretty much all times. So we just pop that one super buffed Rend and move, okay? It will die. So that's like the point of the aspect changes. Then, as you can see, we are no longer using Starless. Again, I already explained in part 1, Starless is more damage. It is, but requires too much micromanagement, okay? Every 2.99999 seconds, you would have to use Rend to not lose the buff, okay? But once again, here you are only charging, brain off, just charge. So having that max Fury, damage while berserking for extra multiplicative damage through our, magnum opus and through our blood rage is way more value for, to focus on charge. So yeah, everything else is the same. Now, if you look at the skill tree, like it's pretty much the same thing again, okay? 2 points just to get to Rend. Here we are taking everything but using Violent Rend because we no longer need Furious Rend. As again explained in part 1, we are getting Fury through Slaking and just popping Tybalt's Will through charge, okay? So we no longer need Furious Rend to gain Fury. So this way, also, like, again, we have that supercharged one Rend if something survives, so we just, pop it. We just pop it for some insane damage over time and we go away, we let it die and we continue. And then yeah, like if you see, it's pretty much the same thing. Here I just go for 2 swiftness points actually, because once again, this is not focusing on the highest dot possible, but to be the fastest, to clear T100 Vault the fastest. So with swiftness, 8%, just 8%, we are reaching perfect 200 cap, okay? Even in my previous build, you can remove 1 Slaking and then I would remove 1 Tempered Fury to put it into swiftness, okay? And you're done as well, 200 movement speed. And then everything else, again, is the same, nothing changed there. So if you look at the Paragon board now, that's the important one. That's where we got some changes. You can see Brawl in the starting board, okay? And what Brawl does, apart from boosting our physical nodes, is that it increases brawling skill damage by 18% multiplicative, okay? Which is absolutely gigantic for our charge. And yep, I already touched upon it. It also boosts the physical damage nodes here, and physical damage, once again, boosts our charge as well as our damage over time effects. Then, pretty much the same thing everywhere. Again, just getting less dexterity nodes here for exploit, because yeah, I keep repeating myself, but like I want you to understand the choices. This is charge focus, okay? Super charge focused and charge. I did a lot of tests, okay? I did a lot of tests. It doesn't actually benefit from vulnerable, or like it does, if you hit the enemy, against the wall, okay, because one part of the damage happens first, applies vulnerable, and then the other part already benefits from vulnerable. But I did over like 60 minutes, just hitting the dummy with all of the gear unequipped and using level 1 weapons to not have some variables, and not once got the charge buffed by exploit glyph. So yeah, the initial charge does not benefit from vulnerable unless, as I said, you hit the enemy some other way, or you hit the charge against the wall to have 2 parts of the damage happen. In my testing, and I will go over it with you as well, I'd like to make a video about it. So in my testing, what I noticed was that sometimes with Ancestral Charge equipped, the clones actually did a lot more damage, like almost out DPS the real charge, meaning that because of the server cycle of half a second, what I think is happening is that sometimes either the real charge or the clones from Ancestor Charge do damage first, apply the vulnerable, and then the other benefit from it, okay? But it still doesn't happen like enough to be worth for like playing Volop, for example, okay? Unfortunately, would have been great, but unfortunately. But I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, right? Like that's what it says in the game. Like the first damage is what applies the vulnerable, not what already benefits from it, because that damage is what applies it. So obviously damage should happen first. So it's working as intended. If sometimes charge gets buffed from it, even without hitting the wall, that's actually a bug, okay? Not the other way around. Then here Carnage is the same, Blood Rage is the same, same glyphs again using Imbiber because it also buffs our charge, not just our damage over time effect, getting the Berserking notes here. And now we get to the change again, first change was happening in the starting board so that we can implement one more glyph. And then Hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is the second best board for Ire, as you can see. 70 strength here, super easy for the pathing. Also, we get physical damage over time notes, damage bleeding, damage reduction bleeding, again, physical damage over time, and then obviously the Hemorrhage legendary note as well. So absolutely awesome board for Ire. That's where you want to use it if you are using Rend, at least in this combination. And then again using Decimator, but this time without all of the extra vulnerable nodes for the reasons that I described before, okay, with the charge, exploit, and vulnerable, okay, and taking the Decimator node, of course. Nothing has changed here. And for the Schnitzel stones, nothing has changed either, okay? So yeah, this is like a variation of my build, but it's like the same. If you already have the gear for one or another, all you need to do is to form some aspects if you want to, or like have, double gear, have like 2 axes, 2 pairs of gloves, etc., so that you can just swap between the aspects and you are set. So for now, I definitely recommend you to play this one if you are just farming the 100 volts. I hope you liked the video. I know together, considering it was 2 parts, it was pretty long, but I always try to explain everything like very in depth so that so that you can in the future or even now understand Barbarian better and make your own builds even, So thanks for watching. See ya in the next one.